Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing another itty bitty knit kit that I got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are going to do another itty bitty knit kit. I have a series of Valentine's Day kits that I have to catch up on. I am dropping all of them at once, so good luck with that. Click that like button if you are excited about seeing these kits. We're going to work them today. So today we're going to do Love Bug, and this is so cute because I call my Dexter, my cat, Love Bug all the time. Of course, he does not look like this. But let's see what's in this kit. We've got some stuffing, knitting needles, felt stickers. We have some pipe cleaners, some spools of yarn, and a plastic needle. Due to copyright, I can't share the instructions. So if you want to get this kit, I would go to Five Below and find it there. Otherwise, I am only going to be teaching you how to do the stitches and how to assemble. So, here's the spools of yarn, a little crushed. It's okay. I love the ones in the bands in here. And then we have this one. We have our instructional booklet. It does have a built-in ruler, so you don't have to worry about that. This has illustration and text. You can follow the instructions that are in the booklet. My video does it my way. It's the way that I find it easier to do. So just be mindful of that. And then here's our knitting needles, our stuffing, our felt stickers and pipe cleaners. We have a couple more of those. And then our plastic sewing needle. So just so this doesn't get dirty, I'm going to put the stuffing back in here. There's a lot of stuffing actually. And then the same thing goes for these felt stickers. We'll keep the debris off of them. And then just so that I don't lose them, I'm going to put the pipe cleaners back in here, as well as the sewing needle. Okay. So if you need to speed up or slow down the video, go ahead and click on the gear button in the corner. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you could always lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so again, I will be teaching you how to do new stitches at least 3 times, step by step, and then thereafter I'm going to go my normal pace, which is probably faster than average. Okay, so let's do this thing. We are starting with, this is going to be one rectangle, so that's always good. The only problem is that this is going to be a two-color rectangle. So I'm going to show you how to make a smooth transition. So let's just talk about the rectangle size. So it does give you an approximate count of rows, and you can go by that, but I honestly think that you need to go by the dimension in inches. So if we have two different colors, look at the photo and make your guess as to how big each section needs to be and divide that amongst the that dimension. Okay, just because I followed their rows before and sometimes they're not right, so just be mindful of that. So we're going to start with the pale pink yarn here. And I always get asked, like, can you switch the colors? I mean, can you start with a different color? I guess you could. You just have to remember how many rows you're doing for that color. But I try to just follow the instructions so that there's no confusion on my end. So this is where you'll try to split this little spool here in half as cleanly as possible, because we are going to have to we're just gonna have to unravel it, and you want it to be in a way where everything is nice and clean. Let's see. I'm going to take, I have a little cylinder here. I want to put this around the cylinder just so I can keep it from spinning out of whack. Okay. And then, so now what we're going to do is we have to measure out a tail. Okay. It tells you the dimension for that in the booklet. So off camera, I'm just going to measure out this tail, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do next. Alright, so here I have pinched right where that measurement is supposed to be for the tail. This is the rest of that tail here. Alright, so don't use this to knit, because obviously you're going to run out at some point. This is the feeder yarn that's attached to this little spool here, so you want this out of the way. I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to drape it down over my desk to make sure it's down and away from what I'm doing. Then we're going to take this feeder yarn. You're going to take your middle and ring finger and just hold it apart like this. Okay. Then you're going to take two fingers. We're going to come up. We're going to twist down to make this loop. Then with your index and your middle finger, I'm going to grab the feeder yarn and pull through the loop. Right, and then I'm going to pull on this end to tighten up this knot, and I'm going to also push it towards the thumb to minimize the amount of waste that we have here. So we're doing two things at the same time. So keep pulling and pushing until you can't any longer. Okay, once you get to that point, we're going to take the tail and you're going to pull out to make that knot just a little tighter. I want to hold the knot down, and I'm going to pull on the feeder yarn to make this loop fit 2 knitting needles comfortably. And then I'm going to put my knitting needles in here. All right, and then you can tighten this up or loosen it as however you need. And I'm going to gather up some feeder yarn. All right, so now we are ready to go. Tail is going to be down and out of the way. Feeder yarn is going to be in the back. This project is going to be doing knit stitches, which is one of the easiest stitches you can do. I mean, it's called knit stitch, and this is knitting. So what we're going to do is get into our knit stitch position, and we are going to make an X with our needles. You want the right needle on the bottom, the left needle on top. You want to always maintain contact, so there's going to be a little point here that's always going to be touching. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our yarn around our right needle. We're going to go back to forward, and then we're going to pull down, and that's going to either make a sound or feel a snap, because you are always touching your needles, and it's going to get caught in this little opening here. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to slide the left needle down the right needle, over the tip, and down the back. This is going to force the feeder yarn through this stitch. So let's slide the left needle down the right needle, over the point, and down the back. And it's forcing that feeder yarn through this loop, creating a new stitch on the right. So now we have to transfer this new stitch over to the left. So take your left needle, pick up that stitch on the right, and lift it off the right needle onto the left needle. So now you have 2 stitches. Let's do this again. Stick your needle into this new stitch now. Get into your knit stitch position. You want your right needle on the bottom, left needle on top, always touching, and you want your feeder yarn in the back. We're going to wrap our feeder yarn around the right needle from back to forward and down. You're going to feel or hear it snap. It's going to get stuck in this crevice here. We are going to slide our left needle down the right over the point and down its back, forcing the feeder yarn through this stitch. So down the right needle over the point, down the back, creating a new stitch on the right. We're going to transfer this over to the left. So take your left needle, pick up that stitch on the right, lift it off the right needle onto the left needle. So now we have 3 stitches. One more time with you guys. Stick your needle into this new stitch now. Get into your knit stitch position, which is an X. You want your right needle on the bottom, left needle on top, and always touching. We're going to take our feeder yarn and wrap it around our right needle from back to front, and then we're going to go down. You're going to either feel or hear it snap to get caught in this crevice. Then we're going to slide the left needle down the right needle over the point and down the back. It's going to force this feeder yarn through this loop. So let's do that now. Creating a new stitch on the right. We're going to transfer it over to the left. So take your left needle, pick up that new stitch, lift it off the right needle and onto the left needle. So now we have 4 stitches on our left needle. Alright, so now that I've taught you how to do this 3 times step by step, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the stitches required for this square or rectangle. You can rewind this section as many times as you need until you're comfortable casting on stitches on your own. Okay, then I'm just going to count these stitches off camera to see if I've made all the stitches I need. Okay, so from here, what you always want to do, aside from counting your stitches to make sure you're still having the right number of stitches, you want to make sure that your project is growing downward. and straight. So if your stitches are twisted, you always want to make sure that it's straight and going down, and I'm going to show you in the next row the reason why. But so when I flip this upside down, you should be able to see a clear line of your stitches, not twisting or bunching, and then you're ready for the next row. So let me just go grab some yarn actually. Okay. We're pretty much going to do the same thing that we did to cast on stitches. The only difference is that when we create a new stitch, we're not going to transfer it over. We're going to keep it on the right needle, and then we're going to lose one off the left needle. So the number of stitches that you have on this side, you should expect to have the same number of stitches on the right side. All right, so let's start with this top stitch here. Okay, we're going to do our knit stitch like we've done before. And so again, rather than transfer the new stitch over to the left, we're going to keep it on here, but we're going to remove the stitch off the left needle. So carefully remove up your stitches up the left needle, just enough so that you can flick this top stitch off the left needle. Okay, let's do another one. Stick your needle into the next top stitch here. We're going to do our knit stitch and create a new stitch, right? And then rather than transfer this over, we're going to keep it on the right needle, and we're just going to flick off this stitch off the left needle. All right, one more time with you guys. Stick your needle into the next stitch here. We're going to do our knit stitch. Right, we're going to keep this stitch on the right needle, which means we're going to lose a stitch on the left. So just carefully push this stitch off the left needle. And so now we have +3 stitches on this side, -3 stitches on this side. In total, the same number of stitches we started with. All right, so now that I've shown you how to do that 3 times, step by step, you can rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing every stitch off the needle on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'm going to come back in and tell you what you have to do next. All right, so now that we've completed taking all the stitches off the left needle, and now all our stitches are completed on the right needle, what do we do next? So you always have to have stitches on the left, so we're pretty much just going to swap our needles. So take your left needle and send it over to your right, and then take your right needle and flip it over to your left. Okay, so now let me talk about this situation here. So when we're working our stitches, it's okay to have this all bunched and twisted, but like I said, after every round you want to straighten this out. So make sure the project grows downward. So just line up your stitches and make sure it's in a straight row. While it's short, you can just flip it upside down and see that it is actually in a straight line. Now let me show you why. So here we have the top stitches, and it's all in a row. You can see clear as day that this is one stitch here. If this was all twisted, because it tends to twist upward, you can accidentally have your feeder yarn up and back. So we're going to see one stitch here. If it's up and back, it somehow gives you the illusion that it's two stitches now. 1, 2. So I've had a lot of comments regarding like where are these extra stitches coming from. This is probably where it's coming from, because your feeder yarn is being held up and back. What you want to do is, and you can probably see it because your project's going to naturally twist upward when you do this. So if you see that your project is twisting up, it's not straight. You can't have it up and back. You have to have it down and back. So you see, here are the two looks. There's 2 stitches here. Put it down and back, there's 1 stitch. And it looks more comfortable when it's down and back, because that's the correct way of how it's supposed to be. So now that we've got that situated, we're just going to go and continue the rest of this like we normally have. And again, you can divide the 2 sections of color from the inches that the rectangle is supposed to be. You can at the same time see if the number of rows they tell you to do kind of match what it says, but I found more than not that it's not right. So just go by the dimension that the ruler says it needs to be. Alright, so I'm going to continue the rest in silence. Alright, so I finished the pink for this rectangle, and we are going to transition to, what are they calling it? They're just calling it pink yarn. This looks more like hot pink, Barbie pink, magenta, I don't know. Anyway, I like these ones because they have the bands around it. Here's one end of the yarn. You can find it fairly easily, but this is not the end you want to work with. What you want to do is find the end inside the spool here, and sometimes it's easy to find when you open it up and look in there, but sometimes it's not. So when you go in here and you don't find that center, you just pull out a piece of the inside out, and then you'll end up just finding it. So I'm grabbing one strand and I'm going to pull it out. Okay, a chunk might come out and that's okay, but at least we make sure that we get one end here. So as we're pulling, it's not turning or anything. You just need a paperweight so that it doesn't move. So I'm going to do that now. Okay. Then I'm going to get to the very end of this pink yarn here. Because we have to do a cast on with a slip knot, and we're not worried about any tails at this point, so we don't have to measure anything beforehand. But again, we're gonna go and take the end here. This time I'm going to use my ring, pinky, and thumb and hold one end very tightly. Then with the other, I'm going to hold the other end with the index and the middle finger. We're going to take two fingers and push up, then turn down. Then I'm going to take my middle and index and pull the feeder yarn through that large loop, creating a huge knot. I'm going to pull this top part here at the same time, pushing the knot towards the thumb. So let's do that now. This is going to minimize the amount of waste that we are making with the little excess piece here. So keep pushing and pulling until the knot forms and you can no longer pull it anymore. Then we're going to take the excess piece and we're just going to pull this out to make that knot nice and snug. Grab your knot. You have this huge loop. I'm going to pull this feeder yarn to make the loop small enough to fit knitting needles. Alright, so now I'm going to take our project here. Okay, and I'm going to take our knitting needle. We're going to start our first stitch by putting the needle in here. Rather than wrap around with the pink or the light pink or pale pink, sorry, we're going to take the pink and slip that on there. And we're going to pull through that stitch and complete our first knit stitch. Okay, and if you want to just be secure about it, let's do another one or a couple more or just one more, because now we're not going to go back to the pale pink. So what I'm going to do is cut about an inch or so of the feeder yarn on the pale pink, and I'm going to tie this to the pink a couple of times, not too tight, just enough to secure the pale pink. I'm actually tying it 3 times. Okay, so now we can move forward with the pink yarn like we've been doing this whole entire time. So I'm actually gonna wrap this all around my finger here. Alright, so we're going to do this row together just so you can see what it looks like transitioning to the pink. Then I'm going to do the rest in silence, but I wanted to show you what happens when we change colors. Alright, so this is what it looks like transition to color. Look how nice and clean that is. We flip it to the other side, and this is the wrong side, by the way. This is how you're going to be able to tell the difference between the prettier side and the wrong side. Is there's a strip of light pink and then there's a strip of pink, and that always happens. So that's how you'll know what side you're working with. But anyway, so now that we've transitioned, all I have to do is make as many rows of the pink to add up to the total size of the rectangle in inches. So I'm going to do that in silence. Alright, so I've made the rectangle the length that it needs to be. I just have to cast off. So let me show you how to do that. Let me just get some yarn here. Now we're going to be doing some knit stitching, so it's the same thing we've been doing. I'm going to go knit stitch 2 stitches, so do that now. 1, 2. To cast off, you always have to have 2 stitches on the right needle and then whatever on the left, but the goal is to get rid of all of these stitches. You're going to end up with 1 stitch at the end, and that's fine. Alright, so we're going to pick up this first stitch here and we're going to leapfrog it over this stitch. You can use your thumb to hold this stitch back because we're going to lift this stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle. So we're left with 1 stitch. Let's do another knit stitch. Okay, then we're going to lift this stitch over the next. You can use your thumb to hold that stitch down, but I'm going to slide this stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle, leaving a stitch. Right, one more time with you guys. So stick your needle into the next stitch here, do a knit stitch. We're going to lift this first stitch over the next. Then we're going to hold the stitch back, lift this stitch off the right needle, and then lift it off the left needle. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to cast off 3 times, step by step, you can rewind this part as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing cast-offs on your own. But again, I'm going to just finish all these stitches off the left needle. We're going to be left with 1 stitch, and then I'm going to show you what to do next. Alright, so now we're left with 1 stitch on the needle. Let me show you how to fix that. I'm going to cut about 1 inch or so off of our feeder yarn. And then I'm going to yarn over. So I'm just putting the feeder yarn over the needle. We're going to pick up this stitch here and we're going to leapfrog it over that yarn over. And again, hold it back with your thumb so you can lift this stitch off the right needle, off the left needle, and then I'm going to pull this right needle all the way out, and we're going to tighten this loop up into a knot, and that is our finished rectangle. Alright, so now what we're going to do is sew this together. I do have, this somehow came out on the other side. Let me just go back here and I'm just going to try to tie it around this excess piece. I mean, I think it would be hidden when we sew it, but just to make sure. You can also trim it down if you'd rather do that. I'm just going to double knot this just to keep it out of the way of the prettier side. And these pieces are so small. Alright, well, close enough. Alright, I'm going to go into my pouch here now, and I'm going to grab the sewing needle. Take the tail end, and we're going to fish this through. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take the prettier side, and we're going to keep it on the inside. We're going to fold this in half. And again, you can tell the prettier side because the wrong side has that band of pinks here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sew around, we're going to make rounds of the corners. We're going to leave a section open to stuff, and then we're going to round the other corners. So let's do that now. So I'm just going to go through here. We'll go this way and back. Okay, then I'm going to work my way back. Okay, and then I'm going to leave a spot open for the stuffing. So I'm going to weave in and out of the one side. So split it open and just weave in and out of one side. And then we're going to go back to sewing the edge. Okay, and then we're going to round these corners too. On this last corner. And then I'm going to come back around. Okay. Once we got to the opening, we're going to flip this inside out. Okay, and then the corners are going to be rounded. This looks like a giant pill. Alright, then we're going to take our stuffing, taking out everything from this bag. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do after turning inside out is fill our little love bug with the stuffing. So you can do this in little pieces. just because you have more control over where it goes. If you put everything all at once, it's going to be harder to manipulate. Okay, and then once you have the stuffing in there, we are going to sew this love bug closed, and we're going to do straight stitching. And once you have that closed, I'm going to go and find an opportunity to tie a knot. Okay, then I'm going to slip this through one end, randomly come out the other, and then we're going to cut this flush to the surface. Then you can squeeze that to make that end disappear. This time you can reshape your bug. And I wish that I'd rather, this is kind of tucked away, I'd rather had the tail be the pink than the light pink, because the light pink is sticking out, which is not a fan, I'm not a fan of. So actually this side might be the better side. Okay, so now we have to thread our pipe cleaners. And so I'm going to take the this antenna looking one, and we're going to stick it through the top here. So just try to stick it through one end and have it come out another. Okay, you can situate this and put like a more of a bend. You can probably use your knitting needle to curl these up a little bit. Okay, something like this. And we'll do the same to the other side. Okay, so we have something like this. All right, and then we have our arms to do. It looks like we're putting these little sticky circles around the arms. So I'm going to do the arms first, and it looks like we're going right across the body. I'm going to go a row below the transition. So I'm going to tuck this right in front of that seam. So hopefully like that kind of doesn't draw too much attention to that seam. I don't like it. Then we'll come out this side here. So, and they fold the ends probably so you don't poke yourself. I'm going to leave the ends folded. But I'm going to take my sticker here. It looks like a little pink snowman. I'm going to stick one end, and we're going to fold it down in half, and make sure you pinch the ends. Hold it for a few seconds so we make sure that we have as much contact with the adhesive as possible. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Okay, lay it on the other end here. Fold it down in half. Pinch it, make sure that the adhesive and I'm going to try to put some bending into the arms like that. Oh gosh. Okay, then we're going to do the legs. So same thing, we're going to thread this through one side and have it come out the other. Right, I'm going to put a bend in this as well. And I'm going to use some more of these stickers to place at the ends of the feet. And we're going to fold it in half. Make sure that there's contact. And hold this for a few seconds. And then we're going to do the other one. Okay, fold it in half. Oh, I have to feed my cat. Wow, time flew. All right, so we have the legs. I'm feeling like it should be opposite. The legs are much longer than the arms. Oh dear. Well, I think they were the same size anyway. All right, so let's do the next steps. Okay, and then we're going to do the eyes. Once you have the eyes in, you can center the mouth. Okay. And then we're going to put on the rosy cheeks. And then what's left is to decorate the body. So they show 5 pieces where there's 6 hearts. So I'm just going to stagger these. All right, so click that like button if you think that this love bug came out really cute, or click that like button if you're excited to see your love bug turn out. But that is that. This is what it looks like. I think the body just ended up being a little bit bigger than I wanted, but I think I kind of felt it like I should have not put all of the stuffing in there. But either way, I think it turned out really cute. And it's not as cute as my love bug at home, which is Dexter, so that is that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this. I do have one more Valentine's Day kit that I am going to be doing, and I'm going to be dropping all 4 videos all at once, so you'll have the best time trying to catch up with all that. Again, if you have any requests to do videos, leave a comment below, and if you don't want to wait for me to find these kits myself, then you can always take a clear image of the instructions and send them to me via email. My information can be found in the description box as well as on my channel. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.